Hey, what's up? It's your boy Coach Cole, and I'm coming back at you here with some quick writing tips on run-on sentences. So you may think that run-on sentences are kind of rudimentary or maybe a little too simple to be considering at this point of your writing career, but believe it or not, uh, researchers at the Stanford University found that this is in the top 20 mistakes commonly made by incoming freshmen or undergraduate writers. So my guess is that if it's a problem for them, it may be a problem for you. First off, what are run-on sentences? How do I find them? And how do I fix them? Let's take a look. So what are run-on sentences? These are sentences that contain two or more independent clauses and are incorrectly joined together, meaning that these clauses are joined together with no punctuation or linking words. All right, let's take a look at what they actually mean. What independent clauses versus main clauses? They're actually the same thing. So you may hear it called independent. You might hear it called a main clause. You may hear dependent or subordinate clauses brought up, and you might also hear fragments. All right, so what's the difference between these three? Understanding this will help us learn to identify whether or not we have a run-on sentence or if we just have a complex sentence. So independent or main clauses contain at least one subject, one verb, and are complete ideas, meaning they can stand alone as sentences. For example, the ground under your feet is shaking. All right, that's a complete idea. We have the subject, the ground. We have the linking verb, is, and it's a complete idea, because it's getting across to the listener that we probably have an earthquake going on. Let's take a look at our second example right over here. And this says, if it's not a complete thought or begins with a subordinating conjunction, it is a dependent or subordinate clause and cannot stand alone as a sentence. For example, if the ground under your feet is shaking. In this case, we still have a subject and a verb, right? But this idea is not complete. And it's because of our word here, if. All right, since the word if is there, the reader or their listener is waiting to find out what happens if the ground under your feet is shaking. Therefore, it's an incomplete thought and cannot be a sentence on its own. Finally, if the sentence is missing either a subject or a verb, it's a fragment. For example, the shaking ground under your feet. In this case, we don't have a verb. We have a subject. We have the ground. Shaking is describing the ground here, so it's acting as an adjective. And under your feet is a prepositional phrase, so it doesn't meet the requirements for either dependent or independent clause. All right, so strategy number one for fixing run-on sentences: join the two sentences with a comma and a coordinating conjunction. The pattern you're going to use here is main clause, comma, conjunction, and main clause. Again, remember, main clause and independent clause are interchangeable words, so you'll hear them both. When we're talking about coordinating conjunctions, we're talking about a specific set of words. If you have a hard time trying to keep track of which conjunctions are coordinating, which ones are correlating, which ones are subordinate, just remember the acronym FANBOYS. I know it's kind of corny, but it works. So for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Each of these are chord and conjunctions and can be used to join ideas and main clauses. Let's take a look at this example sentence. Students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. All right, right here is where we have our run-on sentence. We have the first main clause, students are supposed to be independent learners. And then we have our second main clause, that can't happen, followed by a dependent clause. So how can we fix it? Let's take a look back to where our two independent clauses are joined, and let's add our comma and our coordinating conjunction but. Students are supposed to be independent learners, but that can't happen. They are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. So the plus of using a comma and a coordinating conjunction is that putting those two ideas close together can show the relationship very well between the two sentences, and you don't have to take a full stop pause like you would maybe at a period or a semicolon. Exceptions, because it's English, it's an exception. This is why this language is so hard for people to learn. It is a second language. There's always exceptions to the rules, and it makes it really difficult sometimes to keep them straight. If the clauses are short or weak independent clauses, you don't have to use a comma, just a conjunction. For example, I cook and she cleans. You can run, but I'm not. Or I don't want to go, so I won't. All of those are short independent clauses, and you don't really need to put a comma in there since there's not going to be much confusion for the reader. All right, let's take a look at strategy number 2 for fixing run-on sentences. This strategy, you join the two independent clauses with a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. Your pattern you're going to use is main clause plus a semicolon, conjunctive adverb, comma, then main clause. Here's a big list of conjunctive adverbs that can behave as a coordinating conjunction. And they behave as a coordinating conjunction because, again, they're combining those two independent clauses, and that's the function of conjunctions. All right, let's take a look at our example sentence again. Students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. All right, so right here, we're adding this semicolon, right? And then this is the conjunction. Students are supposed to be independent learners. However, that can't happen if they were always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. In this case, using the semicolon creates a stop in speaking, and the word however shows the juxtaposition between the two ideas and lets the reader know that though this be the case, there also is something that's about to stand against that case. All right, let's take a look at strategy number 3 for fixing run-on sentences. Two separate sentences out of the independent clauses. For this pattern, we're going to have main clause plus end punctuation plus main clause. So for this to work, you really want to have longer sentences. If the sentences are short and you have a lot of short sentences in a row, it can make your writing seem really sing-songy or really choppy. And the best types of writing combine all types of sentence structures, from short and long, compound sentences, complex sentences, compound complex sentences. But what you don't want to have is a lot of really long sentences in a row and a lot of really short sentences in a row. Because if they're too short, there's no rhythm to your speaking. And if your sentences are too long, your reader can get lost in just trying to decode what's being said. So here's how this can be broken up into two sentences. Same example sentence: students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. For this one, we've just simply added the end punctuation of a period, and then we've started the next main clause is the next sentence. Students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. So this works really well in this sentence, since what it's created is a simple sentence and then what's called a complex sentence, where we have the independent clause, that can't happen, and then the dependent clause, if they're always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. It wouldn't work quite so well if the sentences were both very short. Finally, strategy number 4, join the independent clauses with a semicolon. Students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they are always told what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do with it. So in this case, we're not using a conjunctive adverb here. We're just simply joining two sentences, the two clauses with a semicolon. You can do that with this sentence because both of these clauses are closely related. So it makes sense to the reader. You don't necessarily have to show a relationship between the two because you may feel that it's an obvious relationship and you don't need to do that for the reader. Students are supposed to be independent learners. That can't happen if they're always told what to do, how to learn it, and what to do with it. All right, so again, this was run-on sentences. If you want some extra practice, check out the links below. I've included some additional resources that either were referenced or are just really good resources that I found on the web that can help you out. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me at MrColes English on Twitter or MrColes space English on YouTube. Contact me in either of those places. I'll be glad to point you in the right direction and send you either some resources that we use in class as practice or point you out to some of the resources that I frequent. All right, have a great day.